everyone. I'm just going to pop everyone on mute. Okay, so for anyone who's come to the last few presentations, you will know that we generally start kind of couple of minutes late just to allow people to join, try and be dyslexic friendly. We think that 5 minutes late is on time. It's a company policy. However, this week is Katie's week. And if you don't know Katie well yet, if you haven't joined many of our things in the past, if you didn't come to our neurodiversity co-occurrences event, then you probably don't know that Katie is the organized half of Dyslexia in Adults. And she's the one who has kind of always been helping me behind the scenes, supporting me. And so we will be running a little bit closer to time. Still late, but, more on time than we would be if it was just me. So, I wanted to do a very quick introduction on why we've chosen this week as a topic, and then a very quick introduction on Katie, and then I will pass over to her and she will get started. So the idea of the What If Dyslexia Was Easy campaign is to really make it a spicy concept. What do you mean dyslexia could easy? We wanted to shock you, but we do also genuinely believe that it is somewhat possible, that it is possible to make dyslexia easy, that it is possible for dyslexia to become easy and for it not to be the most frustrating thing in your life. That's what we have both achieved for ourselves. We're not perfect by some stretch of the imagination, but we also know that we've made our lives a hell of a lot easier. And one of the things that we have seen in the last couple of years is the transformation that ChatGPT is causing to our community. Some of the more complex, or what I like to think of as the secondary parts of dyslexia, are really being resolved through ChatGPT, and there is so many exciting things. And we wanted to give you all a crash course, because if dyslexia is going to be easy, guys, it's going to be because of ChatGPT. So Katie is our resident tech expert. Katie has been raving about ChatGPT and uses it every day for years. She's incredibly techy. She builds computers, guys. She's in another level. And then finally, so that's why we chose ChatGPT, because we know it's a really important topic for our community and the opportunity is significant. And for anyone that doesn't know Katie yet, just know that she has been working with me since 2021, and anything amazing or anything that you have experienced with dyslexia in adults is because truly Katie is the one behind the scenes, running it, helping it, making it better, supporting me. So yeah, just to really big up Katie and kind of make her ego massive, and then also set higher expectations for her, because again, if you don't know her yet, she's got ridiculously high expectations of herself. So it's going to be almost incapable for her to meet now. So yeah, I'm going to be handing over to Katie now. Enjoy, Katie.
Thank you. So first off, hi, everyone. It's lovely to virtually see all of you. We're going to dive right in today because there's a lot to cover. Today, we're going to talk about dyslexia and ChatGPT. We've billed it as ChatGPT, but I'm actually going to talk about a few different AIs just so that you can get comfortable with the idea of all of them. Before we get to AI, however, though, we're going to talk about a few things today. Number one, neurospiciness. We're going to talk about some tips and tricks to make this presentation way easier for you to ingest and digest. Second, we're going to talk about a basic overview of what AI ChatGPT is and the best practices for using it. And then finally, we are going to go through a quick demo on how each of the different dyslexic friendly prompts that we can use work. So first up, Neurospice assistance. We're going to talk about two different things that can help you in today's presentation. The first thing we're going to talk about is how to turn on captions in Zoom. So what you're going to do, you'll navigate down to the bottom corner. You'll see the show captions button. You'll click it. You'll click add captions. And then from there, they will pop up on the screen and you'll see verbatim all of the little things that I'm saying. And again, if you, for some reason, we'll watch the video go through one more time. So again, we go navigating to the corner, we click the more button, we go to captions, we go to show captions, and then we click the save button, and then boom, captions appear on screen. So that's the first one. So if you're watching live, you can throw captions on and it will slow down my talking and your reading if you want both at the same time. The second neurospicy tip that we are going to drop is if I'm speaking way too fast, when you go to watch the playback on YouTube, you are able to control the playback speed. This is a little video for how to do it. You click the gear icon, you go to playback speed, and then you can adjust it. You can go down to 0.25, which is like me talking in slow-mo. And then on the flip side, we also have 2x if I'm not going fast enough for you, because I have ADHD and I watch almost everything on 2x. So those are a couple tips. You can come back to them after the fact if you're watching the recording back as well. Oh, and how to put on captions on YouTube. So getting into it, let's talk about a little context here. First things first, we want to talk about the bad side of ChatGPT. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad, mainly good in my opinion, but there's some things to be aware of. Number one, hallucinations. So much like the idea of like dreaming up random things, AI does the same. So you need to be careful whenever you are looking for legal texts or trying to get sources for things, and double check where ChatGPT or the said AI is getting their info from, just because hallucinations do occur. AI will just make things up. Sometimes it's really funny stuff. Number two is data privacy. So every person on this call needs to check with their company, if you're using it at work, on their specific regulations surrounding AI. If you use platforms like Google and Microsoft do offer corporate level AIs. I am not familiar with the legalities of what they do and do not share data wise, but essentially, AI will take what you put into it and will learn from it and will use it in the future. So you want to be careful about whatever proprietary information you may or may not be sharing. Finally, AI can be trained on bad data. This means data that has gender or race bias. This means outdated things that have been misproven or miscalculated. So just be warned that there is faulty data in how AI works. Let's talk about data sets really quick or modeling. AI has like a stack of encyclopedias, and a computer programmer or persons have fed that encyclopedia to the AI so that when you ask it questions, it cites that encyclopedia. That's like a dumbed down version. Really, it's the internet snapshotted at different times, but just kind of an overview on that. Moving in to the next thing. How do we use AI correctly? So AI, the first thing, fish are friends, not food. AI is your friend. So when you talk to it like it is your friend. You want to be super specific in what you're asking. And you want to be, I mean, you can even be like, hey girl, what up? Or hey, AI, what up? Talk to it like a friend. You want to treat it like another human because that's how it's been trained to interact with you. The second thing, you want to start simple. So we're going to cover best practices. If you don't get best practices today, it's not a big deal. It just makes using AI a little simpler. So start with basic stuff. Summarize this. How do I do this? What is this? Can I get tips? Basic is where we want to start. And we're going to go from basic to a little bit more complex today as we work through this. Best practices. Be specific. Try and give it as much data as you can. We also want to give it character. So AI can be anyone. Like think of it like a play. So if you are working on coming up with a meal plan for your family and you want it to be a healthy meal plan, ask ChatGPT, hey, can you act as a nutritionist, right? Somebody who's an expert in the space. And then finally, clarify. If for some reason ChatGPT or any of the AIs we're going to talk about gives you an answer that you don't love or that is too much text or that is just not right, say, hey, this doesn't make sense. Can you explain it to me another way? You can ask again and again and again. AI is not like your boss. AI will never get mad at you for asking you to explain things in a different way or again or shorten it. So I know I personally never want to ask my boss like the same thing 3 times. Ask AI 10 times. It's not going to get mad at you. Next up, I know I'm going a little fast, but I just want to get to the demos because that's where the real meat and potatoes are. So the basic formula for using any AI comes in 4 parts. Ideally, you would like to have 3 parts, but if for some reason you can only get 2, that's fine. The 4 parts are persona. This is who the AI should be. Task, what you want the AI to do. Context, what the AI needs to know. And format, how you want the information displayed. So we've gone ahead and given a color-coded example on the other side. For the 4 parts here, we want you're a Google Cloud program manager. That's who the AI is. You're me pitching my boss. That's who the AI is. Then we're going to ask it to do a thing, draft an email, help me create ideas. Then we're going to give it the context based on the information that, and then you can attach documents to some AIs. You can copy and paste things in some AIs. You can just give 3 bullets. And then finally, we're going to tell it how we want it to format. So format in bullets, format with ideas and short descriptions. You can also use tables. You can use some more advanced AIs will allow you to do mind mapping, but not all of them. So we'll ignore that one for now. But that's our basic formula. So every prompt we're going to go through today, for the most part, has 2, if not all 4 of these specific formula pieces. Now, getting into the fun stuff. The demo. This is where the meat and potatoes are. Actually, let me pause really quickly and take a second and look at chat. There's nothing in chat. We're good. Okay, perfect. So the demos. The first thing we are going to talk about is actually using AI. So we've already covered best practices. We've covered the problems. We're going to dive into actual examples of how to use this. The first one we're going to work on is super simple, super basic, drafting emails. So why is drafting emails important? As a dyslexic, I know that I struggle with the following: spelling and grammar, getting my point across cleanly, dealing with the pressure of figuring out how to get my ideas from here into the computer. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this next example. I'm going to swipe over. All right, Natalie, did you guys move? Just give me a thumbs up if it should. Okay, cool. So for our, oh, I don't know what I just clicked. So for our first example, we are working at Keystone Properties, and we are taking over for Emily, and we need to write an email letting our tenants know that the people have changed, that the manager's changed. So we typed in our prompt. I'm not going to make you guys watch me type. We're going to press enter.
While we're giving Katie a second to prep and not cause us too much stress, does anyone want to put in the chat how you guys are currently using ChatGPT, what's working, what you're excited to do with ChatGPT, and just get a bit of the community going in the chat? I think there's a lot of advice in this group and in this community, and we'd love to hear how some of you are using it right now. And then it gives Katie a bit of breathing space. Lucy says, how can I use it other than check my spelling and grammar? Yes, for sure. We're going to be covering that. There's lots of things beyond spelling and grammar that it's really helpful with. Okay, people definitely want help with spelling and grammar. And then Sarah says she uses it to meal plan and make a shopping list. Okay, interesting. And then Catherine says, I use it to help structure my written work. Catherine, it changed my life when I started doing this. Ewan uses it to make holiday itineraries. Fiona uses it for emails. I think that, yeah, that makes sense. A lot of people are gonna be using it for emails.
Okay, so we put in our first message of like, hey, I need to write an email that says this. One of the key things that we did in this is that we said, what else do you need for me to write an email? So we're actually asking ChatGPT, like a friend or an assistant, hey, what do you need for me, assistant, to write this email? And it gave me all of the information that it needed. And then we paste all of that back in. I've already, again, prepped this so you guys don't have to watch me type. And then it's going to go ahead and write out the emails for me. So it's writing one email to Nancy and Kelsey about the issues. I don't like that. Can we make this 2 emails, please? So then it will write one email to Nancy, one email. So we keep talking to it like a friend. It gives us the answer. We say, no, we don't like it. Please give us a new one. So that is how we can use it for prompt number 1, which is drafting emails. So number 2, how do we write better emails? So if you're already using it for, by the way, it's going to give you completely spell checked, completely grammar checked chats. So you don't need to necessarily worry about spelling. You can also always put it in if you put in an email and say, correct my spelling. And then it will spit back out a corrected version where your spelling is corrected, just in case anyone's just needing it for spelling and grammar check. So our next one is writing better emails. So we need to write an email to our boss and we say, hey, I need to use my flex time. Can you help me write an email? This time we have given it, let's go through the thing. Persona, it's me, I'm writing to my boss. The task, write an email. The context, to use my flex time from Chattanooga. And then the output is obviously, or the format is obviously email, because I said I need help writing an email. So it's going to write an email, and you guys can read this, it's not important. What we're actually going to do is say, can you make this less formal and not make it don't make it an ask. So we're like, hey, we're not playing around. I am using my time. So it'll come back and give me another version of the email. Getting things out of Chat GPT and into your email, all you have to do is copy it, and then you can right click and click copy. If you've got a Mac, you can use Command C or Control C, and then you just paste it straight in an email. So that is how to write better emails.
I think lots of people just saying that they love it for emails and that it's a big part of how they're using it. And I think often we know what we want to say and how we want to say it, but it's just taking that structure into kind of corporate ease and to corporate lingo that can feel really overwhelming for dyslexia. And that's where what Katie was saying about that persona piece is so, so helpful.
Yeah, a lot of what I use it for is when we get emails into our inbox that are trying to plan meetings, or I have questions about, we were working on a top secret project that's required us to do a little bit of research. So I've used AI to research, and then I've said, hey, can you take the things that we've researched and put it in an email to send to said person? Again, this is not a great example because I can't share any of the details, but yeah, so you can even do research and then create an email based on that research. We're going to move into one that I know a lot of dyslexics struggle with, which is...
We've got a great question in the chat, which is, what word should you use for tone? I think that's like a good question for you.
Oh, that is great. So tone is a fun one. Tone is a fun one. The vibes I would use at work are friendly but professional, or firm yet polite. So it kind of depends on what the intention of your email is. With dyslexia in adults, when I'm doing things that are outward facing, I usually say like friendly, and I'll even put in the demographics. So friendly, like a millennial. So it will use language that's similar to what Natalie and I would actually naturally speak, rather than, Riz, skibbity, beta, alpha, omega, teen words that I don't understand. So yeah, when you're looking at tone, think about what you're trying to get across. And then you can literally just say friendly, mean, angry, aggressive, just put in any descriptive word and it will chew it up and spit it back out. I find that if I say professional, sometimes it's a little too like corporate-y, and I'll have to ask it to change the tone. And you can do that same thing, just like when we were in there. Can you make this friendly? Can you make this firmer? It's not going to get mad at you for asking again and again and again to change the tone. When
I
you're
think also I've started to create I've started to, when it does the tone I like, I ask it back the question, how would you describe that tone? And then it gave me a summary, and now I just copy and paste that summary. I would like you to write in this tone. So I kind of sometimes do a bit of work to get the right tone, and then I just say, can you explain this tone? And I just whack it in. And if it's not quite doing it, I'm like, no, but I asked for this tone.
Yeah, it is like a person, so it will forget things as well. So you might have to tell it to go back up to the top, or this is still not what I want. So just be warned, you have to play with it, but the amount of work you put into Chat GPT is significantly less than the amount of work that you are going to have to put into doing the actual thing yourself. Also, the mental energy is just very different. Okay, so getting started. This is a huge problem that a lot of us with ADHD and dyslexia have, is that task initiation. We're going to go through an example here, but AI can help you with this. So AI is more than just input output. You can ask it to help guide you through things. So it would be like if you had a very kind digital boss that would walk you through how to do something that, you know, if you asked a real person in real life, they'd be like, you don't know how to do that. And you'd be like, okay, sorry. So we are going to go ahead and start a new one. And then you got to bear with me while I get my thing. Oh my God. This is an actual, so these were prompts I came up with, but this is an actual question that is somewhere in my thing. So I haven't done my taxes this year and I need to prepare them for my tax guy. I have business and personal taxes mixed together. Annoying, I know. So I didn't actually fill out the full, what do I need to do? Like, because that's really what the question is here. So I'm giving you a bad example on purpose. So I've given it persona, me, filing my taxes is the action, and everything is mixed together. So I've given it a little context. We press enter when it, okay, there we go. And then it's going to say, that's a hassle. See how friendly it is? And then it's going to give me step-by-step guide as to how to achieve getting my taxes done. You can do this with anything. You can do this with a presentation. You can do this with, I have a training coming up and here are the 10 things I need to do for it. Here is the, anything, dinner. What do I need to start with? I looked up martini recipe. I said, I have vodka. What kind of drinks can I make? And it came up with 10 recipes for me, right? So just that starting point. And then this gave me a really good breakdown. Oh, I need to gather my business documents. I need to figure out what the expenses are. I need to separate the different transactions, track my income, like, so it gave me step by step by step. And then it's like always friendly ask if you've got more questions. And so in the end, I did end up asking it a bunch more different questions, but I wonder if we're going to do this live. I haven't tested this. I'm actually in the UK. Let's see if it will give me a different set of, all right, Natalie, you're in the UK. Does this look like the steps you would take to do your taxes?
I'm a show off, Katie, and you know I did it this weekend. 6 months early. Who am I?
I'm impressed.
Impressed.
Yeah, this looks right. HMRC rates. So pounds, yeah. So you can even put in, if for some reason you put in this question and you're British or you're from another country, you can just say, I'm actually, put in your country of origin, and it will give you all of the stuff that you need. So this is a great way to get started on any projects. Do we have any questions on that one before I jump over, Nat, to the
Questions
next?
in the chat, but I'd love to. One of the things I've always said to you whenever I've complained about not using ChatGPT enough is whenever it spits it out, it's always so much. And that's what my first thought was when I saw that big thing coming. I was like, God, it's just sometimes it's just it gives too much information. And what do you, I mean, you've told me now, I now know what to do, but what do you recommend to the people to get the information you need, but not also feeling like you're trudging from one thing in your brain to another?
So we're actually going to play with this a little bit when we get to a different example, but let's go ahead and do it with this because this is a good example. It's given us 9 steps. So we're going to say, okay, this is a lot. Can you break it down into smaller chunks and tell me what steps to take? One at a time. So then it's going to go through here and it's going to be like, all right, here's step 1. And it tells me step 1. And then I can be like, OMG, thank you. I'm ready for step 2. And then it's going to say, oh, here's step 2. Here's what you need to do next. So you can just ask it less. You can also say, this is too much to read. Show me less, please. I'm always nice to AI just in case they come and take over the world, and I want them to be nice to me in the long run. So then it gives us way less information and it gives us basic overview of what we need. Did
Okay,
that answer your question?
but another great question. This lady is dropping some great questions. I'm interested in how it can help me with memory. If I can enter information into it regarding a project over time, and I can ask it to remind me information, etc.
So if you were really, really tech savvy, I'm not that level yet, you could build some custom stuff that would like put things on your calendar and remind you to do things. Right now, it doesn't have a push function that would allow you to be notified of things. So the notification piece won't necessarily work, but it does remember things. So let's go to, let's see what we're going to go to. My stepdaughter back in August, we were working on some math homework and she asked me to help with something and I had absolutely no idea how to do it. So I was able to go in and I put in just the equation, solve for A. And then it went through and it gave me all of the steps. So I could go in now, even though, please ignore this. I'll explain this in a minute. I could go in now and say 8A equals x 4. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. Minus c, solve for a. I don't even know if this is a real equation that will work. And so I can go back to this chat at any time and it will do the actual work for me. So if you start a project and you're like, I'm done, I stopped, I'm not doing any more of this, you can always go back to it. This was in August, right? So it holds a memory for a really long time. Mine goes back to a really long time. Did I answer the question, Natalie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect. So we are going to do something a little different now. So we're going to talk about breaking down big tasks. So this is kind of that other piece that we were talking about. In the What If Dyslexia Was Easy chat function, somebody said resumes and cover letters. They wanted to break things down like that. So we are going to go ahead and jump into that really quickly.
Someone asked if we're getting the recording, which we definitely are. And Sarah says, I do this at work at an agency where I have different chats for each client, so I can remember any info I have shared prior. Genius. So that's what I was thinking. You could almost have like one chat per project, and you could kind of say, like, this is where I'm up to, like, what else have I got remaining? Things like that. That sounds really amazing. One of the things that I'm constantly saying to people is we need to keep things in our frame of reference as dyslexic people. And there's lots of, and whenever we say like visual strategies, it's kind of the same thing. Like, how do we keep things like top of our mind and remember things like that? So I think all of these things are really useful. And then Imogen says, can you use it for presentation prep? I think by the fact that Katie has as her third prompt, AI presentation as one of the prompts, I think you know the answer by that.
I will give you guys a peek behind the curtain in a second, and I will even walk you through building this presentation because I did it using Chat GPT, which I'm perfectly capable of doing it by myself, but why would I when I have someone else to carry the mental load and all I have to carry is the vision piece, which is what we're good at, is that big picture thinking and the seeing things from the larger scope. So
Katie, I never told you this, but I was having a conversation with our other employee, Amy, and she just said to me, Natalie, why do you think I do things so quickly? It's all with AI. Because I'm always like, Amy, how do you get your work done so quickly? And she was like, AI. I was like,
yeah.
oh, no, that's
So we are going to try a different AI this time. So this is Claude. Claude is, I don't remember who they're owned by. They're not owned by Google or the other one, Microsoft. So, but this is another AI that you can use, and it operates kind of the same way as ChatGPT. You'll sign up for an account, and we have a prompt, and it's really long. And so, what it's done is it's gone ahead and turned this into a attachment. So we can also attach files if we want. So in this case, we're working on our resume and finding a good job to see if we're a good fit. So the first step I would take is I'm applying for jobs. Can you pull out the key, what's the word I'm looking for? Skills. Ooh, that took a second. Skills I need for this job in bullet form. Okay, so we put the job description below and we put the thing, and then it's gonna sit, it's gonna think, and then Claude is gonna pull out all the info we need. This is a lot, right? So this is practically reading the job description. So I'm like, no, thank you. Can you make this shorter and more high level? This is you guys are getting real life spelling. So then it's going to give me kind of like a high level thing. What I can do here is I can attach a copy of my resume and I can say, hey, look at my resume and tell me what I need to add to my resume in order to make this match. I don't know if I have a resume on here. I don't think I have a resume on here. So yeah, so you can use it like that. And then we can also say, can you write me a cover letter for this job and talk about how good I am at marketing? So no matter the AI you're using, a lot of them are going to look the exact same. But do slightly different things. So Claude, what Claude has done over here, you just noticed it popped out with something new. So it essentially makes like mini documents for you. So we've asked it to do a task for us. It's done the task and given us that high level overview of the job. And then we've asked it for something that's an output. So what it's done over here is it's written the output letter for us, and then we can just hide it if we want. And then whenever we want to come back to it, oh, where was that cover letter? It's right here. And then you can open it up and then you can copy it to your clipboard and then paste it wherever it's needed. Are there any more questions about breaking down big chunks of info? I know we've kind of half covered it already, and or jobs and cover letters.
There's no questions in the chat, but I think it would be really like useful for people to I know as dyslexic people, we know we struggle with breaking down ideas, but Katie, do you want to give a bit of a summary on why this one is the topic that we often end up talking about, and why people need to know that AI can be helpful with this, like why this is the thing that's going to really help them?
So as dyslexics, we are big picture thinkers because of our working memory. So we can't take in a ton of information at once, and we can't process a ton of information at once, and we can't put out a lot of information at once. So things that are really small and really detail oriented are not our friend. So when we're engaging in large swaths of work, right? You've got an article or a chain of emails and you need them summarized. It's so that you can put your dyslexic self in the correct place. So instead of sitting here trying to slog through the details, I can ask AI to give me that big picture so that I can start from a frame of reference that I understand and move down into the details. It's why a lot of dyslexics, the idea that we always need to know how every part of something works prior to being able to do anything with it. So we have Notion as a company, and I learned absolutely everything I could about Notion. Do we use 96% of the features? Absolutely not. But do I know them? Yes, because that's how dyslexics work, right? We have to start at that big picture, fully understand it, and then we can get into the weeds. So that's why using AI is really helpful, because instead of starting at the weeds, starting in that big chunky email thread that Dana sent to Stan, that sent to Karen and 6 months ago, and now they're looping you in, you can copy all that, you can paste all that and be like, what are the key action items? So it brings you back up to a place that's easy for you to start at and move down into the nitty gritty.
Amazing. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, of course. I want to make sure I fully got the summary there. Okay. So breaking down tasks. Next up, we're going to do another one on the fly. Is prioritizing tasks. So we already talked about how task initiation is a problem for us. Sometimes we get bogged down by how many tasks there are to do and feeling like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So if you struggle with this in the kitchen, use ChatGPT, hey, I am trying to make dinner. Here are the ingredients have. What do I need to do first? And it will tell you step, 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 step. We're going to do this one live, and we are going to ask Natalie. Where's my other ChatGPT? Natalie, what
Yeah.
are some things that you need to do?
Oh gosh, what don't I need to do? We're making plans for conferences we're going to in 2025 at the moment. I've got my November social posts to do, and I need to send my follow-up notes to my one-on-one coaching clients. They're written. I just need to email them to tell them they're written to the one or two of you that I can see are in the chat and currently waiting for them.
Okay. So we've told ChatGPT what we need it to do. We've also given it the persona, which is me. Can you please prioritize and break? It doesn't care about spelling either, which is so nice. Down these tasks in a table. So this is that piece that we're adding on to this one, is we're asking it for it to display the info in a specific way. So we're going to press enter, and we're going to see what it gives us. So she's going to work, 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 work. So it's actually asking me proactively for more information. So it's saying, here's the task, here's the priority, here are the steps to complete it. And then it's asking for deadlines. So let's feed it a little bit more. Look at this, it's been so nice to me. Conferences by December 23rd, 24th. Social media is important, done by October 31st, and coaching notes needs to be ASAP. Can you redo the table by date due? So then it's going to think about it, and it's going to give it to us. So this is what we mean when I say, like, oh, you have to play with it, you have to play with it, you have to play with it. So what it does over here is it gives us actual data. And then if you want to put this in an Excel document, you can highlight it, copy it, paste it, put it in an Excel document. It will give you all of the things, and it gives you a nice little summary here. So these are the first things you need to do. And then again, breaking down those tasks into even smaller chunks. So yeah, any questions on setting priorities and building out tasks?
No questions, but people are loving that we're breaking down why these things are important. So do you want to quickly highlight the importance of steps and why you've included that as part of the prompt?
Yes. So again, it goes back to that big picture thinking. So we are good at the high value tasks, which is, the things that make the money, right? Coming up with a product idea, coming up with the presentation idea. Like, we're good at the high value tasks. Dyslexics struggle at the lower value tasks. We also struggle with figuring out what goes where when, and complex, like, so we have 3D thinking, but like figuring out what needs to happen in what sequential order. Sequencing, that's the word. Ooh. So when you're asking for ChatGPT to like help you organize yourself or break things down into steps, it's to help you sequence and reduce that like overwhelm that's like, oh, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to break into this thing. So it's giving you those small steps to break down the bigger task. A lot of times something feels ginormous, like filing my taxes felt huge. I filed an extension. I did not want to do it. They were due 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't. I was like crying, trying to talk to my partner about my taxes. And he's like, it's not bad. You just pull up the, whatever. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. ChatGPT helped me. I went through and I said, hey, I gave it that prompt, and then it told me kind of what to do. And I was like, this is the bank I have. Do you know how to find the statements? And it was like, yeah, you're going to navigate to the top left-hand corner, click here. Like, it will give you a breakdown of how to actually do things. So it's helpful in taking that overwhelmed, I don't know what to do, and making it small, achievable steps, which moves you forward. And if you get stuck, you can always like, let's see, compile notes, personalized notes for each client. So that takes a lot of work. Can you make a one-on-one coaching template for me? And then it will start working through things. This is not going to be a great one because it's not very customized at the current moment, but we can, it's a starting place, right? And then we can also, um, actually, can you make this more personalized?
Katie, I
What
also
do
think
you need from me?
it's the step-by-step piece is really useful for people who also find the time starts to be a challenge for them. So if you, because dyslexic people struggle with breaking down tasks, it can play into our perception of time and understanding how long things are going to take. And so when you have a more detailed overview of something like I am such a terror at being like, okay, so I just need to plan which conferences we're going to in 2025. So just that's 5 minutes, but it's like, well, no, I need to think about getting there, how many presentations we might need, what who's going, what's the audience type. And so those steps to complete can really help you think about how long things are going to take. A couple of other questions, quick ones we've got is that do you pay for ChatGPT?
So I personally am so stubborn and do not pay for ChatGPT. Talking about ChatGPT and paying, I think is probably important. And I knew we were going to get this question eventually. So most of these AI softwares have what's called models. So just like your fancy iPhone, I have an iPhone 14. There's also a 15 and a 16. So if you are on the free version of an AI, it is generally the lesser model. So I'm on ChatGPT, whatever model. And if I want the latest model, so like the 16 iPhone, I would upgrade and pay for it. Another reason to pay for ChatGPT is if you are tech savvy and are going to be integrating it into other things, then you might want to pay for it because that's how you get your API access and that sort of stuff. That rule is also true for Claude. I believe it is also true for Google's Copilot, specifically if you want Copilot in, I'm sorry, not Google, Microsoft's Copilot, if you want it in the Microsoft suite. So you can log on right now and use Copilot all you want, but it will look like this when AI gets really powerful. And probably the accommodation you're going to want to ask for at work is to buy the AIs that are stacked in with the software suites that your company's already using. So for Microsoft, you're going to ask for Copilot, and then Copilot will pop up in your emails, and you'll be able to click a button, and it'll be like, summarize this email, boop, and it will give you a summary. Or if you're in Microsoft Word working on a document, you can ask it to help you do X, and it will, boop, bring in the text for you, or format things correctly, that sort of stuff. The same is also true for Google. Theirs is Gemini. And I haven't played around with Google Gemini a ton, but it is, again, it's that same thing where it's available. I can log in and use it like this for free. Or if I have my business through Google, I can use it in that way as well. So no, I don't pay for ChatGPT because I'm
And
stubborn.
Kate, we've also had someone, I think, make a really good point that I think a lot of people will really connect to is it sounds like it can help by giving you that first step of getting something done. I quite often feel daft for asking someone to talk something through how I'm supposed to do simple things like understanding my pension. And I just want to stress that this is so normal, so substantive, like it is so true for so many people in our community that we just desperately want like half an hour to be like, can I just talk things through with you about what I'm thinking? And I will often do that with ChatGPT of being like, okay, here are all the thoughts that I have, or is there anything else I've been missing? But you can also get that big picture that we're often looking for. Like, can you give me a brief overview of this so you don't have to feel like you're a burden or you're not good enough because you have to like ask for these things. Not that you should feel like that, but unfortunately many people do. So I think that's like a really amazing bit to offer. Few people have said that they find the paid version a little bit better, which I mean
It
obviously
is.
does make sense. And then Katie, someone has asked, which I think also be really nice, is if you go over the structure of questions, of how to question things again, that beautiful slide you had on the little colors.
Yes, yes. And I'll make sure that that gets in the resources section of the What If Dyslexia Was Easy space. I want to go back to what someone said about understanding your pension or large things like that. So if you have a document that you have attaching a file and then it will review it. So another cool thing, we were talking earlier about breaking things down. So sorry, bear with me, bear with me, bear with me.
Yes, and we've had another good question on this as well, which is, does it work well if you're planning for a project, but don't know all of the details to get the task finished? For example, because you need to do the research first. That was really poor dyslexic reading there. Normally my reading's not that bad. Does it work well if you're planning for a project, but don't know yourself all of the details to get the task finished? For example, because you need to do the research first. Nailed it.
Yes, that is totally fine. And you can even put like that whole thing that you said, I don't have all of the info. I need to research this. Can you tell me where to start researching? AI will do it. It'll pull resources for you. It'll tell you the steps you need to do. So I'm going to walk through something similar. Um, when I wanted to build this presentation, I have this vision in my head of exactly what I want it to look like and exactly what I want it to cover. So I said, hey, I'm working on this presentation. Here's the like rough things. I need these 2 extra slides built in on, neurospicy adjustments. I want, something on hallucinations, incorrect modeling. I want people to learn these specific things. I want to teach dyslexics, blah, 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 blah. I asked it what it needed from me in order to accomplish this. It said, hey, this presentation sounds super helpful. Here's what I need. I need an outline, or here's what we'll do, and here's how we'll tackle it. So it's telling me how we're going to tackle this project. First, we're going to build an outline. Then we're going to talk about slide details. Then we're going to do prompts and demos. And then I'll give you some visuals as well. So I'm like, cool, before we get started on the outline, do you need any more info? And I was like, yeah, I do. I would love audience skill level, comfort level, what kind of engagement, what kind of common challenges. So then I gave it back info. See, I'm not being pretty over here. I'm not being cute. I'm just typing stuff. Then it reviewed and re-summarized that info. So you got a beginner-friendly audience, step-by-step guidance. You want to build confidence. We want to address safety concerns, and we want to teach people how to remember to use AI. And then we go to the next steps, which it tells me what we're going to do next. And then this is like a rough outline of the actual presentation. I was like, great, go ahead and expand on it. But before we do, am I missing anything? And it was like, here's some things you might want to add. So then it gave me some examples. So I'm talking to Chat GPT. I'm springboarding off of it. I'm asking it for its ideas. I said, I love idea 1, 3, and 4, and 6. Can we include those in this section? So this is, I'm using it actively to build this presentation. And this is all that pre-work that dyslexics sometimes forget to do, that pre-planning. We talked about this on a podcast recently, where if we just sit down and do the pre-planning, it makes the actual execution of something way easier because our brain can chunk the info together. So instead of me sitting down and building the presentation and starting on the demo slides and then jumping to this and then jumping to this and then, oh, I forgot this and then I've got to go reformat everything. This allows me to organize everything nicely before I jump into the doing piece of work, which is another really like helpful dyslexic strategy. So then it talks about, other things that we wanted to go through. It did something wrong. And I was like, this isn't right. I want to structure it this way. So I just went back and forth with it. And then we eventually got to next steps. I was like, cool, what are the next steps from here? So it says create the slides, develop the scripts and whatnot. I'm like, let's get started on step 1. So step 1, it gave me slide 1 and slide 2. When I finished those, oh no, it gave me all of them. Oh no, it gave me slide 1 and 2. So I said, hey, I finished slides 1 and 2. Let's move on. And it was like, gave me slides 3 and 4, and then 4 and 5. So AI walked and held my hand as I built this. Anything else, Nat, in the chat?
No, just people laughing at you for plugging our podcast, but frankly, we think our podcast is amazing, so we'll be plugging it even more.
Yeah, it's really good. This week is on ChatGPT. If you didn't get enough ChatGPT this week.
Yeah. This week,
Okay.
I basically said to Katie, I'm not using ChatGPT enough, help. And kind of just we went from there. And, she explained it to an idiot how to use it. So if you want to kind of a quick refresh, then that's a great resource. And yeah, we will be plugging the podcast like that.
I am going to ask for audience participation at this point. So, Natalie, you're going to field through the comments, but I need someone to tell me something that their bosses asked them to do. So brainstorm something, come up with something, build something. I want to hear, I need an idea. I need to do X. And then you give me one when you find one.
Okay, it's in the chat. What has your boss asked you to do recently that we can start to put into ChatGPT? Sonia's come in with create a 60-minute class on boxing. Sonia, I want to come to your work. I love boxing classes.
Sonia, can I get a little bit more detail on boxing class? What style of boxing is it? Is there a name of a company? Maybe not the name of the company. Is there a style of boxing? Is it a men's class, a women's class? Give me a little more info.
She says the planning structure of the class overwhelms me, but do you have any more detail on is it more exercise based? Is it about technique? So it's an adult Muay Thai adult class for Muay Thai. Um, and she says it's a conditioning class.
Oh, beginner, intermediate, or advanced?
She says technique emphasis and it's for all levels.
Oh man, the spelling is good. Can you come up with a class lesson plan by exercise in a table? Need anything else to come up with this? Question mark. All right, so it's asking me a couple more questions. I'm gonna just make a guess from here. Class location, not, oh wait, class taking place, it's in a gym. Natalie, can you spell Muay Thai for me?
Okay. Yes, it is Muay, and that is from my memory of what it looked like when this lady wrote it.
I can see chat in my head right now. Muay Thai, Muay Thai, Muay Thai, Muay Thai. It's a Muay Thai class, equipment available. Let's go with mats. 3, yes, I want a warm up and cool down. So this is, I mean, obviously I don't teach Muay Thai, so this is not a great example for me to be filling this out, but you would put in a little bit more info. Conditioning is the goal. 5 people are fairly fit. And then we're gonna wait. And then it's going to build us a table. So it says 5 minutes of stretching, dynamic stretching, arm circles, leg swims, hip openers. So obviously, if I knew a little bit more about Muay Thai, I could customize this a little bit more. I could say, hey, I want to do these specific exercises, and it can help put those exercises in, and it will adjust based on what you are asking for. You can do this with anything. I mean, I just showed you something I know nothing about, and you would think that the internet or ChatGPT would know nothing about, but came up with a pretty decent plan.
And I think what Katie has really instilled in me, and so you've kind of got the expert and then the kind of the slight pleb over here. And one of the things that Katie has really enforced in me is that it gets the dyslexic juices flowing. it kind of kicks you off and kicks you started. So, for example, we were going through trying to name our free guide, which is called Decoding Dyslexia at Work. And we were like thinking about different names and different options. And she was like, "Oh, Natalie, we'll just like pop it into ChatGPT, like we're trying to create a free guide. It kind of overviews everything about how to manage dyslexia at work, what kind of names." And we didn't actually like any of the names that it came up with, but it got the conversation flowing of what we wanted. And then I think one of them had decoding, and we were like, yes, okay, that works. And then we kind of went from there. I think it was quite American at the time. This was the older versions of ChatGPT. We're not quite as they have really advanced recently. If anyone has used it before and then not felt like it was as good. So feeling like it's a really good jumping off point and getting those dyslexic juices flowing is something I'd really encourage you to think about if you haven't quite gone to it, you got kind of feel for it yet, which is more my category.
Yeah. Look, it just takes time, and this is actually a perfect segue into the next kind of final piece of this, part 3, is how to remember to use AI, which I think for most of us, figuring out how to use assistive technology is the hardest part of using assistive technology. It's not doing it, it's remembering to do it. So I'm going to give you 2 ways today to kind of help trigger, let me go to AI, assuming your company allows you to use AI. I cannot caveat that enough. So a couple of different ways. If you are tasked with doing something and it just feels so hard, you're like, this is hard. I don't know what to say. My brain is stuck. I don't know how to. Go to AI and tell AI, this feels really hard. I don't know how to XYZ. Can you help? What do you need to help? And it will help you, right? It's the same thing as having like a partner beside you to walk you through something. So that's number 1. If it feels hard and you're like, ugh, go to AI. Tell it your feelings. I've heard funny stories about people using ChatGPT as their therapist. I don't know if I would recommend it, but I mean, tell it your feelings and it will help. Number 2, if something is going to take forever, right? If you've got a big swath of data, if you need to sort through something, if you're like, oh my God, this email thread is 30 emails long and they're looping me in, I have no idea what this is going to be about. Copy it, paste it, ask it to, how do I speed up this task? Can you break this down into faster steps? What's the fastest way to do this? What parts of this can you organize for me? There have been times when Natalie will send me some jumbled notes on multiple things, and it will be a little, because that's how both of us work.
Rude.
And I will just copy it and paste it into ChatGPT and be like, my boss has commented on these 3 projects. Can you please organize her comments based on like project? Send, and it will organize it for me. So if you're ever in a place where something takes a lot of time or feels really frustrating, go to ChatGPT. That's kind of the best advice that I can give you, is like move in when it feels hard.
I'm not sure how I feel about my chaotic voice notes. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a delight.
You are a delight, but we both talk in circles sometimes, and
Yeah.
we have this really bad pattern where the first half of something will be about something, the second half will be about something, and then when we respond, we'll respond to the second half and then the first half and then add a third thing, and that's our voice notes perpetually. It's embarrassing. You can upload transcripts if you need meeting notes or the top points from a meeting. You can ask it for action items in an email. You can ask it to clear up miscommunications. One time I was really mad at someone and I was like, tell this person to do their effing job politely. This is not my job. And it like came up with a very nice and politely worded email that was like, hello, Dan. This is your territory. I provided you these things. You should have done this in like a corporate way, even though there was no way I could have ever written that because I was just raging. So, and that's it. That's all I have about ChatGPT. We are we're like 5 minutes. I thought we were going to be 30 minutes over. We're 5 minutes over. Are there any questions? Is there anything anyone wants to see or has an interest in learning about while we're on the call?
Yes, Katie, we had to go back to the how the prompts were phrased.
Yes. So, oops. All right. The formula for generally how to use any AI is 4 parts. Honestly, I think this is just good advice in general. Like if you need someone to do something for you, 4 pieces. Number one, who should the AI be or who is it thinking as, right? So you're meal prepping, think of yourself as the world's greatest nutritionist, or you're a Michelin star chef, or you're a suburban white woman figuring out how to make cocktails for a dinner party, right? Who should AI be? Number two, what do you need done? So I need an email written. I need a menu plan. I need help figuring out what to do next. So this is the need piece of it. Number three is the context. So what does AI need to know in order to do its job? So if you're like, hey, can you respond to this email as me? You have to give it the email it needs to respond to. So that's step 3. And then 4 is how you want it formatted and displayed. Sometimes you have to be really, really prescriptive. Sometimes you do not. Format also, I want to throw in, if you are taking something like a pension plan and you put it into Chat GPT and you need it to give you an overview, you can also specify what grade level or reading level or education level you want it to communicate back to you. So format also is a little bit in how you want it to talk to you. So give me bullets and make them understandable by the average human being. Anything else before I'm conscientious that we're taking extra time or stealing people's time. Mute and unask a question. Yes, Natalie, are you okay with unmuting and asking questions?
Yeah, of course.
All right, Sarah K,
Hi.
go unmute. Hi, Sarah.
Thank you. How are you? Thank you so much. This is super, super helpful. Sorry, I was trying to phrase my question in the chat and I was like, I feel like it's not gonna be worded correctly. So I use ChatGPT quite a bit, and something I kind of struggle with is kind of making it understand that I want like different and fresh ideas. And I do prompt it by saying, like, like, can you give me creative ideas? Can you give me a couple of ideas? But there's like that repetition aspect that I still sometimes can't seem to hack. Like, for example, like I'll feed it an idea and it'll like kind of focus on that, even if I say, please don't focus on this idea, or, like all the prompts to kind of navigate away from it. Would you say keep talking to it would be the solution to like try to get it to branch out? Or like is it something that is kind of you find like also a problem sometimes?
So
I
I
don't know if
do
my question
run,
makes sense.
yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I do run into this problem. I ran into this problem actually. I was asking it to help me come up with some cool ideas for resources for the What If Dyslexia Was Easy campaign. And
Mm-hmm.
I gave it all of the detail. I was like, here's what each event is about. Here's what each week is focusing on. Here's all the attachments. I need to create some additional resources for the community. Can you help me come up with some ideas? And
Yeah.
the ideas were terrible. It was like, build an infographic that tells dyslexics how to relax. And I'm like, this is terrible. We're also in an emerging industry where the data set that the AIs are trained on
Mm.
specifically for dyslexia is all mainly kid stuff. So it
Yeah.
struggles a little bit.
Yeah.
So to combat that, I do a couple of things. Number one, I come up with a stupid, crazy idea and I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm thinking about doing a 3-part play manuscript or something ridiculous. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, can you give me some other crazy off the wall ideas to help me like, provide resources? Um,
Yeah.
or I'll pivot the language to, I'm looking for something instead of like, give me new ideas. I will say, I'm looking for something more visual. I'm looking for something with more flash. So instead of being like, give me different ideas, I try and prompt it and encourage it to think of other ideas. So treat it kind of like you would if you're in a room and you're like in a meeting with a coworker and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, we could do a webinar. And you're like, we can do better than a webinar. What are some other
Yeah.
ideas that are crazy? Have you thought about doing a, you know, X? So that's one way I've overcome it. Another way is I will sometimes step away from something for a while and come back to it when I have like a new set of information to feed it. So
Mm-hmm.
with the burnout event, or with the burnout resource for next week, it gave me like some scripts to ask your boss to help you like relax, and that was good. But I started working on something else different, and I was like, oh, infographics, those are so cool, like let me go back. So I went back to the chat and I was like, hey, for the burnout week, could we do an infographic? If we did an infographic, can you give me 4 ideas of types of infographics and what we could cover in it? And then it gave me 4 ideas.
Nice.
Additionally, you can go to a different AI. So if you're in Chat GPT and it's giving you the same 10 ideas for everything, move over to Claude and put in your prompt again and see if Claude spits out something a little bit different.
Definitely. Or sometimes I like start a new chat because I feel like when it starts to memorize like what's going on, it starts just putting the same things out.
Yep.
Or like it just gives like kind of how you showed like too much detail, and then like when it summarizes, it's like repetitive. So yeah, there's definitely like some point of thing for growth there. But I find it very helpful. Like so I'm in like PR, and like even with content writing, it's so useful. Like I wrote a op-ed on like dyslexia in the corporate world, and I used it a lot to kind of, I had so much information I wanted to put, but just like help me navigate what's important, what to include. And then like I wrote it, but then it kind of formatted it, and I think it's like such a like cool tool to help. But yeah.
Yeah, Sarah, I find the same problem because it consistently wants me to tell everyone that dyslexia is a superpower, and I'm like, no, that is against the brand. We
I
hate
know.
And
I
so
definitely get you.
what I have to do because obviously like we think our brand tone of voice is like quite different and unique. And so what I often have to do is explain why that information is not relevant. So I'll often say, like, our brand is speaking specific to dyslexic people, and so therefore, like, this term superpower alienates people. It's really important that we have a tone that represents if people are struggling and they can like see themselves in the reality of what they may be going through. Like,
Yeah.
please don't use this language, and that sometimes shifts it off.
Yeah, like you have to explain it to it, like kind of like a human, like Kitty keeps saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah. We use it a lot when we're writing outward facing stuff. So we have internal brand standards that we communicate by. So it's, you know, how we approach gender pronouns, how we approach ethnic names versus non-ethnic names, and making sure that we're a well-rounded company in how we communicate and visually represent ourselves. And so we'll put those, we'll copy and paste, hey, here are our brand standards or our
Yeah,
communication guidelines in, and it does a
exactly.
pretty good job of like sticking to those and making sure it's giving us actual like real info. So yeah, it's
No,
pretty.
100%. I'll put it in the chat or send it to you guys directly if you want to see like an example, because I took my dissertation from there and then I like plugged that in, and that's what it kind of gave me the structure. It's really cool because it was like 10,000 words into 900 essentially, with some rewrites, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Pop it in the chat or on the event and we'll take a look at it. That'd be awesome. Anyone else have anything else before we hop off the event today? I'm not seeing anything else. Okay, if you happen to, after this, think of a question that you have, pop it in the chat in the What If Dyslexia Was Easy space. Even if you're watching the recording, we will be happy to answer any questions. I could talk about AI all day, or if you've got some cool AI tools that you're like, ooh, you should check this out, let me know, and we will be happy to chit chat. Outside of that, next week is burnout week, which is another one of my favorite topics. Natalie, what do we got going on?
So we have a guest expert joining us. One of the things you have to know about us is we don't like a lot of guest experts, but this one is our favorite guest expert we've ever had in the Hive, and he has agreed to come back and do a talk. It's He's so engaging. He's so interesting. He does such good presentations. Tiredness and feeling like you're working in a world that doesn't really suit you is such an important challenge for dyslexic people. So how to navigate the true reality of feeling like you're constantly having to push your brain uphill is such an important part of how to make dyslexia easy. So I mean, I don't think there's a week that you should miss, but like this is not a week you should miss because Martin Bloomfield is absolutely amazing, and we're really, really honored for him to come back and do a presentation to all of you. And yeah, it's gonna be really entertaining and interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week for that. We also have a few additional resources coming out this week and next week. But be sure to poke around. If you've missed the previous weeks, there's a ton of stuff in the resource section or just in the what's new feed. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. This has been awesome.
Thank you, Katie. Bye,
You're welcome.
everyone.
Bye.